there, good evening. Welcome back to Celtic World Order podcast. As always, I'm Steve O'Matt, and it's a warm welcome to yourselves back in the channel. It's a warm welcome back from myself. I'm back. Maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing, but I've got a full screen and I have my bald and, well, one of them's bearded brothers. It's, of course, my right-hand man, Paddy Boy, down below. He's becoming a regular currency. Talks a lot of sense. It is, of course, Stevie would say, mate. And it's good to have both of yous back on. It's good to be back on the channel. I do apologise that we didn't get on after the last game. Paddy was just getting himself back off for the middle of the North Sea, and I was drastically ill after my wee trip to France. And I'm still got a wee bit of a chest infection here. So you may see me coughing and spluttering off screen, but I will mute myself. So guys, we've got a big game here, the last of 2025. We are away to Motherwell. And as it says there, nerves off steel. And that's what I think we're going to need against the Steelmen, because we haven't spoke about the game against Livy, but we'll no doubt use that as a reference point, because there's a lot to take away from it. I felt that it was chaos, and as it says there, we must control the chaos if we're going to get the result today against Motherwell, who are sitting fourth, who are fairly impressive this season. And likewise with the Wilfred Nancy situation, also a team who tore up everything that they knew and tried something new, and it's starting to yield results for them. But we need to put a stopper in that tonight. We need to get 3 points, and 3 points could well put us joint top of the league with Hearts. If we score more goals, then we could even go top on goal difference. So guys, are you looking forward to the game? Start with yourself, Stevie boy.
A bit of trepidation, I would think, is the kind of honest answer to that. Yeah, I think Motherwell will be a sterner test than we got against Livingston. No disrespect to Livingston, but again, you know, teams are now looking at the way we play. Their manager will have done his homework over the last couple of days and say, here's where we can exploit certain weaknesses at the back. Long story short, I think more and more people now are starting to buy into the Wilf ball a wee bit. From an attacking sense, the sea we're starting to put away some of the chances we're creating, but defensively, the word is frail.
Yes, absolutely. Paddy, you are the man of all confidence. You would have loved the 4 goals. You maybe would have hated the 2. Maybe it was a halfway behind the couch when you were watching it. But do you think, are you sharing that trepidation with Stevie, or do you think, do you know what? 2 wins, this will be the 3rd one on the bounce, and we might just do it a lot more convincingly this time, minus the conceding the goals?
I think we'll concede, Steve, for the simple fact our defence is shit. You have a look at this, mate, and you just, honestly, I've got no confidence in that defence whatsoever. That first 10 minutes against Livy was absolute carnage, mate. It was chaos, and I'm hoping for a better start. If we can keep a clean sheet for the first 10 minutes, I think we'll do well tonight. I think that's kind of how I'm going into games. I'm looking at games now going, right, can we keep a clean sheet for 20 minutes? Can we keep a clean sheet for 25 minutes? Because I really, really don't think that we can, mate. I just struggle to see where this is coming from. Like Stevie says, listen, going forward, we look all right. We're getting players in positions. We're getting goals. We're starting to score some of those chances that we're making. Under Wilf, we are making chances. We're starting to do a little bit, but by God, we need to start taking them, mate. Because if we're going to concede, we need to start putting the ball in the back of the net as well.
Yeah,
we really do.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we're going to talk a wee bit about that. As we say, we're going to cast our minds back to the takeaways from the Livingston game. Use that as a reference point to maybe what we could expect tonight, and we'll get on about it. Listeners are starting to filter into the comments here. The numbers are starting to go up. So welcome to yourselves. We've got housekeeping. As we always say, listen, if you haven't done it already, hit subscribe. It costs you nothing, absolutely zero, to get our content here. It helps us extend the reach, get out to more like-minded Celtic fans. We did set our sights lofty. We went for 3,250, and I think we're about 100 away from that, so we didn't do too bad. So thank you to everybody that pushed us on to that 150 mark. Help us get a wee bit further. Hit the subscribe button if you like it. Big thumbs up, share it, tell folk you know the score by now, and get all our other social media links down below there in the description. So let's get down to business, and as we say, we've not spoke about Livingston. I'm sure all you out there have went on to the various other excellent podcasts that are out there and have discussed this. And let's have our thoughts on it, Stevie, because it's been quite the mixed bag, is it not, of reactions. And as is when you do this kind of podcast, when you put your big fizzog to opinions, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And as we always try to do, we always try to be objective. We try to look at what we saw with our eyeballs. We don't want a pile-on, and we also don't want to just blindly say it's brilliant. Livingston, mate, it was exciting. I've heard that term. Great for the neutral. A good advert for Scottish football. But if I'm being honest with you, and strap yourself in, I'll take the win. I was happy with some of the attacking football, but I felt that it was absolute chaos. It wasn't tactics. It wasn't strategy. It was absolutely unadulterated madness. It looked as if there was no plan. The good bits went good. The bad bits went badly wrong. And it just feels for me at this moment in time, despite, yes, I will take the wins, that every single game that we go into feels that you could toss a coin, that every game's in the balance. And normally if Celtic went and won a game 4-2, you would go, well, we smashed them. It was comfortable. I beg to differ. I felt, even at 4-2, Livingston never truly felt like they were out the game.
No.
That's exciting. If that's exciting and you want that, that's fine. But there's a difference between a thrill ride and a scary white knuckle ride. Talk to me, Stevie. What did you make it all?
Yeah, I would totally agree with that. It was your textbook game of two halves. If you look at the stats for the second half of the game, now we went in at half-time 4-2 up. Would you have put your mortgage on us going into the second half and increasing that lead and controlling the game? It didn't develop that way. Livingston made a slight change to their formation, and for the remainder of the second half, I think at one point I saw a stat saying that it had been almost 40 minutes since Engel scored the goal. It was then 40 minutes before we next had a shot on target. And as you say, that's what is concerning people. If we could find a sponsor for this show, we should get a company that sells blood pressure tablets, because that would be our idea. That's the way it's going to be under Wilf. You know, your blood pressure is going to be up, it's going to be down, it's going to be just, totally here, there and everywhere for the remainder of the season. I think it's going to be that kind of football that we're watching. So quite right, as you say, it was never ever a done deal until that ref blew the final whistle, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Paddy, we spoke about it ever so briefly ourselves. Just end-to-end stuff. As I say, if you're sitting there and you're the neutral, it's exciting. I'm not going to shit on the parade. I'm not going to be miserable and say, Stevie, you cut your nose off to spite your face. What do you expect? We've won. Listen, I take the points gladly. All I'm saying is, it would just be nice for it to feel a wee bit controlled. Now, my concern here that I've got is that in Celtic's last 6 games since Wolves came in, there's 2 wins, there's 4 losses, as we know. And yes, we've scored 7 goals in those wins. But over the piece, we've conceded 13 while scoring 10. Now, an interesting fact is that 7 of those goals that have conceded have came in the league matches. And prior to him coming in, Celtic had actually only conceded 9 goals up to that point in the season, Paddy. Now, as much as we moaned that we couldn't score and we were guff going forward, strangely, the cornerstone of Celtic's mediocrity was how hard we were to score. We weren't scoring goals, but we weren't conceding. And now we've just tipped it all on its head. And we need to find this middle balance, don't we? Where, yes, score all the chances, put the game to bed. Please try and tighten up a wee bit at the back.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Listen, when Ange first came in as well, we had a wee problem with that, because these managers come in with a system, and their system works in their opinion. And yeah, it might have worked at Columbus Crew, but I bet he had a better right back or a better right centre back than Anthony Ralston. I bet he had a better centre half than Austin Trusty. Let's face it, these guys are really, really struggling. I think Anthony Ralston has been highlighted in every single game that we've played under Wilf because he just doesn't have what it takes to play in that position, and you've seen it. And I think we're going to continue to see it until we get somebody in who's able to cover that role. Kobe Donovan came in, and again, didn't really fill me with much confidence. We got to see Sinsalo as well, Steve-O, which we'd been calling for. And again, mate, not good enough. It's not good enough. You shouldn't get beat at your front post. Yes, the 2 goals were decent enough, but you shouldn't be getting beat at your front post. And that for me kind of just summed up why he hasn't been picked over Casper. And we're sitting here and we're calling for stuff. We're trying to be positive. Going forward, yes, brilliant. We scored 4 goals against Livy. I would expect that. I really, really would expect 4 goals against Livy, but I just don't understand, mate, what we're going to do to stop conceding goals, because as soon as we come up against any sort of decent striker, it's going to be chaos. It really is.
Well, Paddy, here we go. We can do this right now, and we can, of course, react to it because the lineups are out. We're just getting this coming in. So let's get ourselves involved here now. Let's just have a wee comment on it, shall we? So there we go. It's Schmeichel back in. I was of the understanding that he travelled for that exciting game against Livingston, although he'd been subject to some sort of injection, which hopefully was Ozempic, because the big man's carrying a bit of lumber, and I dare shudder to think how he might look after a Christmas dinner or so over the festive period. Ralston's back in. We'll go on to Ralston. Trusty Scales comes in there, which is, a lot of people are saying that's something that probably should have happened. Yang, Bernardo, McGregor, Tierney, Nygren, Hatate, and Maeda. So there is a couple of changes there. On the face value of that, Paddy, just as we've put there, is that going to be the answer and somehow make us a bit more defensively robust than we were against Livy?
I very much doubt it, mate. I don't know. Under Wilf, as Steve said, Wilf ball, we're not. I'm not confident at all that we're not going to concede 2 goals every game. I really do think we'll concede 2 goals. We have done, like you said, Steve, previously in the league. We're just conceding goals for fun, basically. I think we'll win tonight. I think it'll be 3-2 or 4-2 again. Because I simply have no confidence whatsoever in the defence or in Schmeichel's. Like you said, he's coming back after a Christmas dinner. He's probably about the same way as me, no doubt. Do you know what I mean? So having a look at that lineup there, you've said not so much yourself, Stevie. What's your reading that? Obviously, it's self-explanatory that you're going to be getting Ralston, Trusty, and Scales, I dare say, as being the sitting 3, which would then mean you're going to get Yang and a slightly, I'd imagine, more advanced Kieran Tierney. Yeah. Or do we do something a bit more different and we bring Tierney back into that position? It's Scales, of all people, that's going to be the slightly more advanced one there. What's your reading of that?
Please, Lord, no. Sometimes it feels I could go and get my Wilf plastic board out again and show you.
He's got green markers now, though.
Smashing.
Green markers.
That's what's been causing the confusion up to this point. There was only red and blue on it, and everybody's looking at it going, but where should I be on this? No, I mean, yeah, Liam Scales, again, at times it feels as if he's just got the wee magnets and he's just dropping them onto the pitch and see where they land, or that's your position for tonight. No, if Liam is going to play, he's going to play as the left side of the back 3. His delivery into the box, either just passing a low ball or trying to play a high ball, it's not as accurate as Kieran. So I would want Kieran playing left wing back. I'm going to assume by that lineup it's going to be Yang at right wing back again. The interesting one for me, I was actually looking at the top end. Obviously, no Johnny Kenny. No. Is he going to move Maeda into the centre? Because I thought for the Livy game, although his final ball was very poor, I thought Maeda always does his most dangerous work when he's working up that left, not in the middle. So that will be interesting to see. There's Franny just actually mentioned that. Who's going to be playing up top, Nygren or Maeda? I think a wee rotation up the top. possibly Nygren playing through the middle with Maeda, given the service in. But this is Wilf. You could say it could go anyway. You know what I mean? He could have Liam playing up front there, just for a kind of we'll just hit high balls in and try and just get him to win the high balls and stuff like that. This is where we are now. It could be anywhere at all.
Yeah, we said that the last time, Stevie, when we went on and the team sheet came out and it was in numerical order. And it says it looks like the team's been picked out of raffle, doesn't it? You guys like Kieran Tierney up front and stuff like that. I get what you're saying there. And listen, nothing is out the question with this guy. I just feel like he wants players to play in so many different positions. And I like some of the things that we're starting to see. I like some of the rotation.
Yeah.
I like the players that are moving into different positions. But when a player moves out, some other player needs to move back in and cover where they've been.
Yeah.
Because you need to cover the space as much as possible as well. And set pieces, don't get me started with set pieces. Every single time we get a set piece against us, my heart's in my mouth. It's brutal, mate. Honestly, it's not good for you.
Paddy, it's been a long-standing problem, mate.
Honestly,
it's a long-standing problem.
Well, just on that, I saw BBC today. Liverpool have actually sacked their set piece coach because they've realised after about 18 months that's where they're conceding all their goals. So
at least they tried it though.
But that could be a signing for us. It's January window's coming up. He's a guy we've identified. No, exactly right, Paddy.
At least they've tried it. It. Now, one of the things that I think that we're definitely lacking, obviously, we're sort of fluid chat that we're having here. We'll skip back to some of the takeaways for Livingston. That's staying the same with Alston, Tierney, Trusty in the side there. The interesting one for me is the addition of Bernardo, which to me suggests that he's going to sit a wee bit and try and be a sort of slightly more deeper midfielder there to try and maybe mop up, because some of the things that we've constantly been hit with during this tenure is we are so far advanced. And you saw that against Livingston, where despite how shaky it was going, you heard them saying in commentary, and Wilfred Nancy's telling his line to get high, he's telling his team to get high. And one or two passes have been quickly picking us off. It's always either one of the channels, left or right, fire it down and get in behind there. Now, I'm not saying that you're going to suddenly have Bernardo there, but I think there'd be a bit more of a tendency for him to maybe drop and it becomes something that looks a wee bit more like a 4 when you need it, just in case, to be a bit more of a blocker. We know that he's got a bit of a pass in him and stuff. I think probably looking at it, he's probably, for this kind of game, for me, what we need more than McCown and Engels. Both have got a bit of energy and a bit of sort of attacking prowess around them when they want to. But I think that just the way that Motherwell are set up, they play very good football. They're very comfortable, but they're also quite physical. I think the addition of Bernardo could actually work out here, and it's something that we need. For me, that came as a surprise, Paddy. Is him getting chucked in? So likewise for yourself?
No, I thought he's been all right. Bernardo's one of the guys for me going forward. He actually looks positive. He's got a wee bit about him. And like I said, Steve, in this kind of formation that Wilfred's playing, you're going to need players to move around and players who actually know what they're doing. And I think guys with that kind of fitness and that vision, we spoke about Bernardo before. He's one of these guys, obviously, at a very young age, was captain of the Portugal under-21 squad. He's obviously very, very under high regard. He's a decent enough player. And for me, he's one of the guys that gives everything. He doesn't kind of stoat about games like Hatate comes in and out of a game and gives you it in flashes. I'm quite happy to see Bernardo in there because, like I say, he's one of the guys going forward. He'll give you everything. He's not scared to tackle back. He's not scared to dig in and give a wee bit as well. So that's not really a shock for me. Going into it, Steve, I think we really need the midfield to even up what we lack in defence. I don't want to keep harping on about the defence, but I'm scared of it, if I'm honest.
So, to throw this at you, before we came on, when you were away checking in with the boss, Steve and I were having a wee conversation. And look, for the disclaimer, because we know that we'll get us chucked at us. I've seen it all over X. I've seen other podcasts getting criticised for, as I say, calling what we see with our eyes. Now, it comes back to this idea system. We know that the squad is absolutely dross. Okay? We know that. Fact. It's not up for debate. We also know that Wilfred Nancy isn't going to change his ideals. He wants to play this three at the back. That's it. And like it or lump it, he's going to do it. It then comes down to saying, do we have the personnel who are capable of playing it now? Regardless, and this isn't to shit on the parade, this is just to be honest. The body of work that we've seen so far would suggest that we don't. And I would say that the game against Aberdeen, like the game against Livingston, was a wee combination of taking chances, but also slices of luck and the opposition not converting and stuff. But again, likewise, I'd never felt comfortable with either game. What I would say is, and we'll get on here, and people are saying, and I'm actually going to maybe upset you a wee bit here, Hugh, where we've mentioned the Bricky, we've mentioned Tony Ralston. This came up with Stevie and I's conversation, right? It is easy to attribute these and blame, so to speak, individual players. But I like Tony Ralston. You know that. I like him because he's one of us and he wears his heart on his sleeve and this and that. But what I have to say and be honest is, I cannot believe that Tony Ralston's starting again tonight, right? As far as I'm concerned, Tony Ralston should be absolutely nowhere near this Celtic team ever again, particularly at the position that he's getting deployed at, right? Now, it's not his fault that he's been given contract after contract with Celtic. But let me just remind everybody, Tony Ralston's one of us, blood and guts, gives it his all, tries his heart out, but he's no cut out for us. No cut out for this team. He's certainly no cut out for this formation. And he had possibly one of the worst footballing performances by any person I've seen put on a Celtic jersey in that game against Livingston. Right? That's where I'm at with it. And Paddy, again, not to down the guy. This is a guy who was out on loan at Dundee United and St Johnstone and could not break into the team. He came back. He was given a chance by Ange Postecoglou. And as I said before, on record, I'll say it again, he hit his maximum. He unlocked levels that he had never, ever seen again. But that whole squad were written off. Nobody expected anything from him. And cumulatively, they all hit maximums. However, when it came to maintaining that standard, he's simply not good enough to do it.
Yeah.
Why have we got Dane Murray, Kobe Donovan, and Simpson Pusey, three guys who can play that position at a right back three on the bench? What is it that Wilfred Nancy sees in Tony Ralston that you and I and a lot of people out there just can't see, Paddy?
I think it comes down to work rate, Steve-o. I think, like you said, mate, Tony Ralston will give you 100% every single game. Whether that 100% is better than a 50% Simpson Pusey or a 50% Dane Murray, we don't know. But Tony Ralston will, like we say, run through a brick wall for you. He's one of these players. He's Celtic through and through. He wants to play football. In my opinion, he's not good enough to play at the back of a back three. But I think it's coming down to work rate and the way Wilfred Nancy wants to play his football. I think he wants players to keep going and going and going and going. And if you look at training, I could see Tony Ralston being that guy running about like a heedless chicken, not a clue, just running and running and running and running. And I think that's what it's going to come down to for guys to get a game in this team. You said before, Steve, Bernardo coming into this team again comes across as that type of player, somebody who's going to be running about and giving everything in training. And I just think that's what it's coming down to. Wilfred's basically looking for the fittest guys in that training ground and saying, right, you guys are all going to start from my team, and he's finding positions for them. I think that may well be the case. What about yourself, Stevie? Not to, as a, just our opinion on it, it's not a Tony Ralston pile-on. It just honestly, it just baffles me. Mm-hmm. And yes, hard work should be rewarded, but you're a man that knows the game. In this system, hard work isn't enough, is it? No. When you play this type of football, hard work isn't enough for this type of system, is it?
Absolutely not. But I'm going to fly the Anthony Ralston flag a wee bit here.
Yes, I love it.
Because Anthony Ralston doesn't pick where he plays on that pitch. Okay, he has been asked to do a job that he's been picked to play in a position where he's never played before in his professional career. He's always had the security of Cameron Carter-Vickers inside him to mop up any mistakes that he made. And I think he is far more suited to a kind of wing-back role than playing as a centre-half. He's not tall enough to win, all the balls in the area the likes of Cameron would win. But I do get your point in that it's, Yang as a right wing back again. Going forward, Yang has shown that he's got, he can have a bit of creativity, but defensively he's not. So again, I'm going back to the part that Wilfred, since he's come in, has been determined to play his preferred formation. That's what Wilfred is comfortable with, and he's just thought, regardless of who I've got available, I'm just going to throw guys onto the pitch to cover that position. And in some cases it has worked, in other cases it hasn't. So yeah, as you say, it shouldn't be a Tony Ralston pile-on. Yes, I'm quite sure he himself would kind of put his hand up and say that there has been a bit of miscommunication. The 2 goals against Livingston, definitely, he shouldn't be getting drawn to the ball the way it was for the 2 balls over the top for the. I think the scorer was actually the Livingston left back.
He just drove through the side.
Because again, David Martindale as a very switched on manager, and I'm quite sure the Motherwell manager tonight will have identified, if we're going to get any joy out of this game, that's where we need to have somebody putting Yang and Ralston under pressure. On the other side, whether it's going to be Liam Scales or whether it's going to be Kieran Tierney playing left of a back 3, again, the style that Motherwell play, that's what we're looking at. As much as Wilf can set up his tactics and say, yeah, this is how we're going to do it, opposition managers are going to be looking and saying, that's where they're weak. That's where, if we're going to get any joy out of this game, that's where it's going to be. Regardless of the changes that they make in the middle, they'll just try and get us down the flanks, because that at the moment is where we are weakest. So I'm not on Tony Ralston. As I say, he doesn't pick where he plays. That's down to the manager. So that's where I see it. If we're going to lose any kind of chances, or Motherwell are going to create chances more than that, they're going to try and get us down the wings, I think.
Definitely, and that has been the undoing now. This just comes back to the question. The manager wants to do something now. Listen, I am all for it. I'm not complaining about winning. I've seen folks saying, "Oh, would you expect you'd rather boredom and not?" And I get it. I just think, Paddy, it's a real balancing act. And the term that you used at the top of the show, Stevie, was fragility. Celtic are fragile. Celtic are so fragile. I described them when I gave a rundown, comment on a post that was getting a wee bit of criticism from some quarters for our friends at Axon. And I sort of gave a brief oversight of where I was at our season or our time, so I say, under Will so far. And that was, Hearts maybe came too soon. We were undone very easy. I said that the cup final, Roma was a free hit. I expected nothing. I said that St Mirren was non-negotiable. However, as I've said before, there was a way to lose. Unfortunately, it was neither. It was just disastrous. Dundee United was a game of 2 halves and a exercise in capitulation. I felt that, Aberdeen was exciting, but never felt as if it was stick on. And of course, that game there, I've just given you my thoughts on it earlier. I said that Celtic are a seasoned pro with a glass jaw. And I think that's what we are right now, where we're a seasoned boxer, where we've got loads of seasoned campaigners in there, but we have got a glass jaw. And that could be mitigated by your fight style. And by that, I mean the way that we're setting up. The manager's not going to do it, Paddy. But just for the avoidance of doubt, I am all for it if it works. But what I want to do is ask people out there that are watching, think of world football sides. I mean, top quality, elite world football sides, right? How many that you can name out there that play that system and are completely and utterly dominant? And by dominant, I mean to the extent that you expect Celtic to be, or Celtic are expected to be. Win every game, win every league, and be in the shout for doubles and trebles and doing pretty decent in Europe, right? The ones that you can think of, by the way, have got outrageous amounts of money and world talent beyond the reaches of Celtic, right? Fact, look at Man United. It's taken them 2 seasons under Amarin and about £500 million in money spent to try and get this system to work. Wilfred Nancy's came in with a dross team and thinks that he can do it. It is a wee bit, Paddy, about balance. And again, I just want to come back to it. I want to circle round. How bad must Simpson Pusey be? Because I refuse to believe that Simpson Pusey is worse than Anthony Ralston. Bear in mind that he played in a back three for Man City in the Champions League, the Carabao Cup, and also stints in the Premier League. And then you've got someone like Donovan, who might not be everybody's cup of tea, but certainly looks a lot more accomplished and a lot more comfortable than Tony Ralston. Management's not just about the tactics, it's also about man management as well. Is he maybe doing some of these guys at the back of this service by chucking them to the wolves, so to speak?
You would think so, mate. Listen, Martin O'Neill came in and his man management skills were absolutely brilliant. You've seen a rise in the players. You've seen people wanting to play for the jersey. Wilfred Nancy's came in and said, right, this is my formation. This is how we are going to play going forward. I don't care if you're a central midfielder, you're now a left wing back and you're going to play there. You're going to play as this role that you've never ever played before in your life. I feel there was that type of arrogance, Steve, and that's why I jumped in the bandwagon straight away, because the Hearts game for me, I know you're saying it came a bit too soon, but for me, mate, I was embarrassed watching that. I really was. I felt like there was nothing from Celtic. I felt like we gave nothing. I felt like pulling out the tactics board and telling Callum McGregor things, and Callum McGregor just looked at him as if he was stupid, mate. And you've seen it. And I'm sitting watching going, this is going to come back and haunt us. This is just going to cause absolute turmoil. Roma game, like yourself, Steve, I thought, yeah, we'll go into Roma. If we get anything from it, brilliant. If we don't, fair play. That to me was a game to nothing. But the St Mirren game, mate, that should have been shooty in. By that time, he had his feet under the table. He should have known what his team was. He should have known what players he's got that he can play in those positions. And like you're saying there, Simpson Pusey, Donovan, Dane Murray, guys like that, a right footer to play instead of playing all 3 left footers. It just doesn't make sense to me. These guys cannot be that crap that they can't break in to a back 3 that Tony Ralston is playing in, mate. Do you know what I mean? You're saying about Simpson Pusey. He get player of the year for the youth setup last year down at City. He came up here. There is no option to buy him because they hold him in this high regard. Yeah. What does the guy need to do? Has Tony Ralston get something over every single one of these managers? Do you know what
I mean, it might, as you say, it might be something as simple as he likes the effort, and that's it. Now, just obviously like to bring in everybody's views as we do and try to do it. And look, I can understand that. And as I said at the turn of the show, this is when we're on these sort of platforms, and whether you know, when you put your opinion out there and your face to opinions, that you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. You'll never ever get everybody on side, and we're never here to say that we're right and you're wrong, and likewise you're not there to tell us that we're wrong and you're right. And I understand the notion of what Strangelove's saying, and I can see what San Fran's saying, where they're basically saying that, you know, if he doesn't play his own system, how's he going to know about the players? And also Strangelove saying he's a bit sort of concerned at the lack of understanding of what appears to be going on with the side. I don't agree with that in terms of, I think we all fully understand. But at the same time, this is where it's a balancing act, and I just don't feel that Wilfred Nancy has got that, Stevie. I don't think he's got that. He's not got the balancing. And it's commendable to have your principles and stick by them.
Absolutely.
All I'm saying is at this moment in time, between now and the end of January, and I use the end of January simply because that's when the transfer window's open. You're going to hopefully, touch wood, get players in, but don't hold your breath. But whilst you're trying to negotiate those waters until that shuts and what you've got is what you've got, and hopefully it's what you want as well, you can't. Celtic are so fragile. I said that a million times. We simply can't afford to roll the dice in every game. We can't afford to gamble in every game because, yes, win tonight, we can go joint top, and you say, well, what the fuck's the problem? But that's tonight. It's so unpredictable that the game against Rangers could be 3 each. It could be 3-0 to Rangers. It could be 3-0 to us. You just don't know. You just don't know what you're going to get. So what I'm trying to say is I understand all that, and I totally, in the normal, proper way where you get a manager for a full pre-season and you do that and you work those tactics in the games that don't matter. Celtic, there is no free hits here. There is no continue. It's not a computer game. It's real life. Yeah. We've got to get it right. We've got to get it right first time. And I just feel that in this, between now and the end of January, it needs to have a balancing act, because I just fear, yes, I think they're garbage as well. I fear going and playing Rangers just simply because, not because I think they're going to beat us, but I just think, well, if Livingston can score against us, if Dundee United can score against us, yes, they're crap, but I tell you what, the crap that they've got is faster, stronger, and probably better. So, do you get where I'm going with this, mate?
Absolutely. Just as a kind of general thing, it's, you've got the likes of ourselves. We come on here and we give honest opinions. We can see where we think that team needs to change, whether it's formation, go for it at the back until you've got either personnel back from injury or personnel back that you've brought in January. We can see it. The pundits can see it. You watch any of the I was going to say more professional, but we're kind of professional here. So,
we try to be, yes.
You listen to Sutty, who's a very even sort of guy when he's looking at, right? So we can see it. The pundits can see it. Why can't the manager see what we're seeing? That is the head scratcher for me. And as you can see, what it's done, I'm 23 years old, and this is what the season has done to me. How is it that the manager sticks with this, and just throws guys in? Why can't he see what we're seeing? That is the strange thing for us. If it's a case of, if he turned around and said, look, he comes out with his mad French quotes and whatever. He wants to play his formation. We've all talked about this. As you say, he's got his principles. This is what's worked for him. This is what he's experienced with. That's fine. But, he must at some point look. You mentioned the stat earlier. In the games that we've played, how many have we conceded? That's not good enough. Yes, in the last couple of games, we've scored more than, we've created lots of chances. Few games we weren't putting the ball in the back of the net. Aberdeen we scored, and Livy we scored. But we look at it and say, if this is what we can see, I'm not a professional football manager. If I can see where I would make changes to that squad or that starting 11 to try and shore things up at the back to stop us conceding, for me, that is more of a priority than how many we're scoring at the other end of the park. I want us to concede less goals, build on that, and then, the attacking play will take care of itself, as we've seen the last couple of games. But why does the manager, why can he not see this? Or if he does see it, why does he not choose to change it? And that's where a lot of the kind of anger is coming from a large number of the supporters.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going through my notes here, and I'm casting my mind back. And for anybody that maybe is sort of saying, well, Steve, what you saying, or this and that, Paddy can testify, and you can actually go and see when we appeared on Axon, we'd done the manager search, and we spoke, and I've got my notes here from this, when we sat and spoke and I had a look into it. I was all for, and still are all for, the principles and the ideals of the way that Wilfred Nancy wants to play football. I said that then, I maintain that, and I stick by it. What I did say, and it comes back to what I said about better teams with better resources struggling and spending a lot of money to try and play that formation. You're someone going to get that at Celtic, let's be totally honest here. My biggest concern about Wilfred Nancy was when I looked at his record. Now, I understand that Montreal and I understand that Columbus Crew are basically, they're peripheral teams by comparison in that league, right? But the one thing I said, Paddy, and you'll remember this, is my concern is 214 matches managed, 109 wins, 48 draws and 57 losses. Now, I understand that his budget was low, but I said my concern is too many draws and too many losses, in which is largely quite a crap league, let's be honest here, right? I also said that with 412 goals scored during that period and 311 goals scored, yes, it's a plus and it's a positive, but it shows you high risk for high reward. Now, the difference is managing there, those stats, and can point to the MLS Cup and the Voyagers Cup and all that stuff, but there's zero jeopardy in the MLS. You can't get relegated. You're not going down. It's fine. You can do that. And the expectation levels are low. So what my fear was, when you try to scale that up to the expectation levels of a Celtic, this is what we're getting. This is what I mean. And that's come back to my point, was I'm all for you wanting to play football. I am all for finding out about your team. But it's the wrong time. If this was the start of a pre-season into it, I'd say, knock yourself out, mate. You've got 6 weeks to get out your system and suss it out and get people in the door. The problem is, I say, it's damage control between now and the end of January. We simply can't afford to lose games, mate. That's just where I'm at with that.
The thing is, when you talk about that, Steve, what you're saying about his amount of losses that he had in the Columbus Crew League and American League and things like that, that's all fine and well. Teams like that aren't expected to win every single week. Celtic are. And we said that. It's somebody coming in here and being able to manage the expectation of having to win every single game, every single week. It doesn't matter who we play. I fully expect us to go out there and win. I fully expect us to go out there and put in a performance. He came out after the Hearts game and said there was good parts of that game. There was parts of the performance that I was happy with and blah, blah. And it's not all about the result. See, as soon as he said that, Steve, well, I turned the telly off and I come on the podcast that night, mate. And I was sitting here telling everybody that he's a fucking clown, that I don't want him anywhere near my club.
You were harsh. You were harsh.
Mate, honestly, absolutely brutal. Who the hell is he to come into this club and start dishing out comments like that? Oh, it's about the performance. The result doesn't matter. Have you actually seen anything about Celtic, mate? Have you done any research? You just basically come across and jumped into that seat and went, right, that's it. I'm in charge. We're playing 3-4-3 now. Do you know what I mean? For me, mate, the guy's got a lot to prove. He really does. Because let's face it, a 73-year-old man came in and done the job. Yes, he had Sean Maloney coaching. He had Stephen McManus in there as well. But he done the job a hell of a lot better than what Wilfred Nancy's done so far.
No,
so for me, he's still got a lot to prove, mate. He really has.
To bring it back round, let's bring it round. Let's work it back round, because we don't want to turn into a perceived sort of pile on, because that's not what it is. We're answering questions, we're bouncing back our chat, responding to some of the comments there. All I'm saying is 100%, and I'll go on record again, myself, Paddy, Stevie, everybody is Celtic World Order, and I'll say yes, there will be, believe it or not, for whatever reason I can't understand, there'll be people out there who want Wilfred Nancy to fail for whatever reason, so they can sit and go, told you. Nobody here wants that. I want, and I said actually, Paddy, you'll remember as well, after that game against Hearts, I says, I have never wanted a manager to succeed as much as I do Wilfred Nancy, because of the shit that he's getting from fans, from the mainstream media, the way he's getting painted to make look like a clown from the off. I want him to do it. All I'm saying is,
mate, listen, I jumped in.
Can't. Yeah,
I jumped in, but I hold my hands up. I want him to do well. Same with Arnie Engels. I was calling Arnie Engels out every single week, but I still want him to do well. If you pull on that Celtic jersey, I'm behind you. If you're sitting in that hot seat and you're in charge of Celtic, I'm behind you. Whether I agree with everything you do, that's
Yeah.
down to my
Well,
opinion.
anyway,
In my opinion, I don't think he's doing a good job.
Yeah. To circle round, we will praise the positives, and we've done that. And I will say, yes, attacking wise, periods of the game against the first half against Dundee United, the large sections of the game against Aberdeen, and the good bits against Livingston is some of the best attacking football we've seen all season.
Mm-hmm.
Which, to be fair, wouldn't be hard because it was pish, right? But let's give him his flowers. It looks good if it clicks. But we still can't, and it goes back to this here. And again, I just want to ask a question. I know what the answer is. It's a bit hypothetical, Stevie. But is we'll score more goals than you a viable tactic to win your league?
What wins leagues is points on the board. End of story. Right? You know, I get that part of it. That's the thing. I think until we get through January and see the caliber of player that he brings in, or the board can bring in for him, that's the big question mark for January. Yes, we've seen as I say, on the attacking side of the football, we have starting to see now his ideas and how he wants to play the game. And Ange was the same. You know, we saw Ange ball. It looked dynamically, domestically, when Ange played the way he was blowing teams away. They just couldn't live with us. But he took that into Europe and tried to play the same Ange ball formation in Europe, and it didn't work for us. So, yeah, Wilf is the same. He's getting his ideas across, But as we mentioned earlier, the Livingston game, the first half, 4-2, Livingston made a change at half time, and we're really kind of on top in the second half without getting any additional goals. So now we've got to see week after week after week. If he does a bit better than last week, you know, then that's seen as an improvement. If he wins last week 4-2, great. If Motherwell beat us tonight and beat us convincingly, then all that good will that he's got is right out the window again. So what we need from him now is a bit of consistency. He needs to go on a run where he'll buy himself that extra wee bit of time. Bring some players in. Some players will come back from injury. But what wins leagues is points on the board. End of story. It doesn't, you know, even the great Jock Stein said it, you know, if you score 4, we'll score 5. That's it. Nobody at the end of the season, if we go on to lift the league title, nobody's going to go back and say, oh, remember that game where we lost such and such. People just don't do that. At the end of the day, the proof is that final position in the league.
Absolutely. And again, for the avoidance of doubt, there's elements of criticism in what we're seeing. But I would say it's concern. And because we're voicing that concern, it comes across as outright criticism and hate, which it isn't. It's concern. It's like I says to you before we came on, I says, can you actually fucking believe it that there's a nervousness about playing Motherwell tonight?
Yeah.
Right? Now, people say, oh, that's just entitled. That's this or that. That's just spoiled because you expect to beat. Fucking right, I expect to beat Motherwell. Right? Mm-hmm. And I maybe expect to beat them, but I don't expect to be sitting there and going, wonder if this man's going to pan out. There's a difference between saying, I expect to beat, or we should be beating Motherwell, but it's fine. I'm not concerned it will happen. I'm more sitting going, I think we can beat Motherwell, but wonder how it's going to happen. What am I getting? That's the difference. It's concern. That's what I would say. And to come back to sorting it all out, fully on board, get your own players in, yep, make it happen. It could all click and it'll be perfect. But as I also said before we came on, I'll throw us up to you, Paddy. I've seen people say, and we're saying it as well, 3 left-sided players and a back 3. It's not balanced. It doesn't work, right? I get that, totally. Squad's crap, I get that. But I'm also hearing you drop in Jota, CCV, and Alistair Johnson in that team and sort it. It's not really. It's not just a case of going and buying 2 players, because it's buying another 2 defenders minimum, the play system, but it's also buying another 2 wingers that can do the defensive side, because the guys we've got can't do that. So it's not just go and buy 2 players in January that are defenders and then get the 2 back and sort it. Celtic need at least 6 players that are quality, good enough to play that system. And again, the board in our history of January, do you expect it, Paddy?
Probably not, if I'm going to be honest, mate. I'm live on you TikTok as well just now, and there's a lot of chat in there about people as well saying about positions that we're short of. Listen, mate, you talk about Alistair Johnson coming back into that squad. Do I think it would improve us? Yes, I do. Carter Vickers, yes and no. I think before Carter got injured, he was having a bit of a squib, a bit of a Snyder of a few weeks. But I still think he makes us defensively stronger, and I think he would probably suit playing in a back 3. Jota, I think we need him back in that squad. However, I don't see Jota doing much tracking back. I don't see him wanting to be the one who's going to dig in and have to run back and get involved with the defensive side of things. So that, for me, kind of rules him out for that role. I think he'll still probably play in it, but I think he'll have to adapt. And coming back for injury and then being expected to up your game and up your level, I think that's going to be a big ask. We've seen guys like Sebastian Tenetke obviously fail at it miserably. Where you play him on the left, play him on the right, it doesn't matter where you play him. He's not one who wants to track back. It's not part of his game. He's came in here as an attacking winger, basically, and he's been told to change his game. He's been told to adapt, and I don't think he has what it takes to do that. I think it's going to take somebody to come in, mate. I think you're going to need a defensive-minded player who can also attack. I'm not saying Kieran Tierney, but Kieran Tierney obviously does that. You get that kind of bombing up the wing. Alistair Johnson is that type of player, so you can play him as your inverted wing back, basically. I just don't think these wingers have what it takes, mate, to do the defensive side of it, and I think that's where we're going to struggle. We need to get that bit solidified before we can do anything, because like you said, it's jumpers for goalposts. It's a lot of just goals going to come for here and there. It's just we're going to concede far too much, mate, and we need to tighten it up.
Talking, Paddy, about players coming in, tighten up and stuff, and I'm not, again, Kaiser's asking about Jota, will he return? What do we think he'll return? Think he's done? No, I like he'll return. Again, I think he'll give us more attacking sort of force, but is Jota this system kind of winger? Not really, like he doesn't do much of the tackling either. So we're probably going to have to completely revamp and reassess what we sign, because previously we went for what you would consider to be, I guess, traditional wingers that just get the ball and run, and the sort of defensive side was a bit secondary because of the system we're playing. But yeah, look, it'll be interesting to see what's happening there. But look, let's focus on the game in hand. We'll wrap this up before we go. We're almost 25 minutes before kickoff. Motherwell, so we play them 4th, 30 points. They're 2 behind Rangers. Obviously, there's the game in hand. In terms of doing all right, they're plus 10 goal difference. They don't score a lot, 26 goals, conceding all right, 16 it is what it is. The last 6 games, 2 wins, 1 loss, and 3 draws. Loss obviously came against Rangers. We know they get conned when they should have got a penalty, but it's amazing what happens when you send complaints to the SFA about such things, because throw the handball on top of that. And that's another one that they got off with. But draws against
Statement FC, mate. Yeah, Statement FC.
The United and Hearts as well, which they should have beat Hearts, actually. They were very, very good. Their main striker, MOTCEL, is away at AFCON, which is probably why they're not scoring so many goals. But what are you expecting for this game tonight, Stevie? Because lots of 0-0 draws. They've had 3 0-0 draws. Mm-hmm. They've been knocking on the door, probably should have had a couple more wins than they have. But again, if I say on paper, they play very nice football. They do the right things. As I said at the top of the show, Mai just came in, tore it all up. Like Nancy's done, tore it all up and says, no, You no longer are a team who are just happy to stay up. You're going to play football. You're going to try and win games. You're going to look good in the eye. And it's worked. A bit of teething problems. But with Motherwell, you can get the teething problems because expectations are low.
Yeah.
But tonight, do you think they pose as much of a threat, more of a threat than what we've played so far this season?
Yeah, in a word, yes. They for me, they don't concede an awful lot of goals. That's the thing. As you say, the manager has come in, and the first thing he's done, mentioned before, we start and we make it hard to score against us. That's where we build. We then rely on counter-attacking football, and they've done very, very well at that. Looking at some of their games, they are very impressive coming forward. And as I said, in the run-up to this game, their manager will have sat down and said, where can we hurt Celtic? Where are we most likely to get a goal from? Is it going to be from set piece? Because we know we're not good at set pieces. Is it going to be from, getting the ball down the wing? We know Celtic are nice and solid in the middle, whether it's Callum McGregor in the middle, whether it's Engels, whether it's Rio, whether it's Paulo Bernardo coming in. I'm happy to see him in there today. The Motherwell manager will have sat and said, I'm looking at the goals they conceded. Go back to the Aberdeen game. The goal we conceded was a pass down the middle of the park
right down the throat,
us.
Yeah.
Yep. So he'll be looking at that. Very switched on manager, I think. And as you say, coming into the game tonight, where in previous seasons, this is a game against Celtic. We're not going to be expecting anything out of this game. I can guarantee tonight he'll be telling them we can get something out of this game if we play the ball into areas where Celtic are weak. Down that right-hand side, put the ball on Yang, get it right in about Anthony Ralston. That's where they're going to, that's where they're going to be playing the game and trying to get, on, make chances and really put us to the sword. So, that's what I'm thinking. If they're going to do anything, that's how they'll play against us.
Yeah. I mean, do you feel comfortable in terms of what we've got sitting on the bench now? Obviously, I'm just hypothetical. I certainly hope that doesn't. I fully agree. I think that they are going to look at the slightly torrid time, if we're being honest, that Tony's had, and that's probably where they're going to look to get a wee bit of success. In the event that were to happen, hopefully it doesn't there. Are you satisfied with what's sitting there in reserve, Stevie, in terms of Donovan? I actually quite like the way that Donovan's come on and he's been replacing Yang. He's not been dropped in the defence. He's been more advanced. He's been more forward because I think he looks quite comfortable there. I like what I'm seeing there. Again, you can argue and say, well, if he couldn't get a fucking game against Livingston, why is it going to get a game against Motherwell? I think that the Simpson Pusey thing, I'd like to see him today. I just got to say it. I need to see this guy. I need to see what this guy's got to offer, because we know we've just spoke about January and how the chances of Celtic going and buying folk are neither here nor there. Obviously, there's the links apparently Julian Aguero on loan. Makes sense considering the money from Bournemouth. That would be an option, of course. But if we're not going to get the players in, which is highly likely with Celtic, you've already got a guy in, by the way, who's of a decent standard. You might want to start thinking about using them.
I'm biting my nails here. I answered a question on one of the Facebook forums earlier in the week, and I've said you've got to remember this was a guy who's trained under Brendan Rodgers, he's trained under Martin O'Neill, and he's now trained under Wilfred. If he had been getting game time under Brendan and Martin, but Wilfred doesn't fancy him, then I would say, right, okay, there's a wee something there. But he's not had any kind of game time with any of the three of them. So they're watching him in training. Not only him, there's guys who have fallen out the picture. But you're saying three managers have had a chance to give him some game time, and none of them have fancied him. That's, to me, is more telling than Wilfred's come in and doesn't want to play him. The other two managers did. So what's the problem with Wilfred? You know, so that for me is, you know, three managers have now had a chance to see him in training, what he brings to the squads, whether it's effort, whether it's he's comfortable in the ball, what he's like with the ball at his feet or whatever. You would need to ask the three managers, why can this guy not get any time on the pitch?
Well, that's true. But anyway, we'll see how it pans out. We are just under 20 minutes away from the game here. Yeah. So I'm going to chuck it out to you. There's all optimism in there. There's all optimism. I think it's safe to say that we now know that Celtic are capable of scoring goals, right? So I'm going to say I expect Celtic to score at least 3 goals. But I don't know how many we may or may not concede. So anyway, I'll put it out to you guys. Paddy, the confidence is usually high with you. Are you feeling, is tonight the night where it all clicks? We score more goals. If we concede, we don't concede that many, and we go top of the league. Is this the night?
I don't think so. I do think somebody's in for a battering. I think once all clicks, a team is going to get absolutely melted. I don't think that's going to be Motherwell tonight. I still think that we'll concede at least 2 goals because I think at the back we are just absolute carnage, mate. I just think there's nothing
penalty,
there at all.
One of them, maybe.
Probably we'll make a mistake in there. No dubious decisions, nothing like that. I just think that we're very, very uncomfortable at the back, mate, and I'm really not confident with it at all. So I think we'll concede twice. I'm with you. I think we will score probably at least 2 goals.
It needs to be more 2 for conceding 2. Come on, Paddy.
It has to be. Of course, it has to be. We'll make the chances like we have been. By God, we made 30 chances against was it the Kelly game or something, and then I don't know how many we had against Livy there. I'm not sure, but we're making the chances. We're just not putting them in the back of the net, and that's the frightening part. If we have 10 shots on target, I want at least 5 of them in the back of the net, and it's no coming, mate. It doesn't really fill me with confidence. So if we can get out it with a win, brilliant. I'll say 3-2. If I'm going to go for the win.
Take for me. What about yourself, Stevie boy? How's this one panning out?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's the points that matter. I'm not really going to start getting too het up on the performance. We need 3 points.
It's only the performance that matters, though, Stevie.
That's why he's in the job and I'm not. You know,
it's only the performance. The result doesn't matter.
I would be happy if we come away from Fir Park tonight having not lost, because as I said, Motherwell don't concede an awful lot. I think we will create lots of chances. It's who's going to put them away at the minute until we get a striker in. It might be Nygren, it might be Maeda, depending on who's playing up front. It could be Liam Scales, as we mentioned. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Celtic.
Good. I'll take
that's being optimistic. Just as I say, because Motherwell don't concede an awful lot, but I want us to come away with a win just to keep the momentum going.
Yeah, and closure on that, I agree. I think that there'll be goals in the game. I don't think that it's going to be a clean sheet. I'd love to see one, but what I will say is just to sort of bring and wrap up my nice wee bow, everything we spoke about. All for it, all for the plan, all for the idea and the ideals of what he wants to do. I think tonight we need tangible progress. Now you can argue and say, well, you won against Livingston, you won against Aberdeen. What more do you want? By tangible progress, I mean it to look a wee bit stable, a wee bit more stable. I understand that it's early. I really do. I still get it. It's for some folk, they've made their mind up and it's done. It's done, right? And it's never going to get better. There is room for improvement. We've won 2 games. We need to go on a run of wins. But what I want to see is, I want to see progress beyond putting the ball in the net. I know that that's what wins you games, but I want to see a wee bit of stability. If we could negotiate this game, converting chances and tightening up at the back, just looking something that resembles a wee bit more assured, then a lot of my concerns will be reduced. they'll be taken away, not entirely, but I'll be made to feel better, because all I'm saying is I'm all for this idea. It's wrong rule football, but there needs to be, I keep saying it, for boredom, there needs to be an element of balance. It just can't be dependent on taking all the chances, because as we've seen with the amount of chances that Celtic create, we're not taking them, so you can't afford to lose the goals at the back end. If you are converting 80% of your chances you're creating, and you know what, you can leak the goals, but the margins at the moment for Celtic are a wee bit fine, and I just want to see something. True progress for me tonight will be continuing what we've been doing for the attacking front, maybe converting more of those chances, but drying it up at the back end for us. If we can get a clean sheet and some goals to boot, that'll be positive. Particularly
see that for me, mate. That is the main thing I'm looking for. See if we can keep a clean sheet against a Motherwell side that, like you said, they're sitting all right. Yes, the main striker's away, but I've got no confidence in this defence. I really, really don't.
Yeah.
And I won't have until we stop conceding 2 goals every game. If we can go out there, even conceding 1 is a bonus for me in this game. It really is. I fully expect, if I was a gambling man, Celtic to win and both teams to score would be my bet. That's kind of where I'd be sitting at, because I really can't see us keeping a clean sheet. I'd love it. Absolutely. I would absolutely love it if we could, but I don't see it. I really don't see it at the minute.
Right, well, on that note, Kevin Keegan, you'd love it, and I'd love it.
Love it if we beat them.
Let's hope we're getting one. Listen, thank you everybody for joining it. You've got just under 15 minutes. Get your beers cracked or whatever. Get yourself comfy.
Enough time to get your defibrillator charged up.
Get it charged up. Strap yourself in. Maybe position yourself in behind the couch at times. But either way, we're here for it. And let's hope we get a win. So until next time, we will be back to talk about it. Win, lose or draw. Hopefully it's a win. It has to be a win. So take care of yourselves. And as always, Paddy boy.
Hail, hail.
See you later. Bye-bye.